Tourmalayne, what is your spiritual goal? My dearest Earth friends, it is wonderful to be able to connect to you again. Today I would like to ask you, what is your spiritual goal? What are you hoping to accomplish with your spirituality? There is no right or wrong answer here, but it is good to be conscious and to be honest. People might say that their goal is spiritual growth, but spiritual growth can be quite painful and uncomfortable, and perhaps isolating. It won't necessarily make your life easier or feel good, at least in the short term. Is spiritual growth what you're after, even if it doesn't feel good in the short term? From what I've observed, many spiritual people just want to feel good. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's not a wrong goal to have. It is understandable that people on Earth, who often have suffered much, would have that as their goal. People's desire to just feel good is illustrated by the spiritual ego that many spiritual people indulge in, which often feels good to the person who is being spiritually egoic, but it's obviously detrimental to their spiritual growth. The desired state of being that many spiritual people strive for is feeling good most of the time and being unaffected by external negativity. If you read spiritual sites, it might seem like pretty much everyone is doing amazing and is feeling amazing all the time, and you're the only one who isn't. That really isn't true. This is just a Facebook effect, where people only post their happy moments and are quiet about the things that aren't happy. In reality, most spiritual people have dysfunction in their lives, and they still quite often experience suffering. They just don't talk about it. Of the minority of people who genuinely feel good for the vast majority of the time, most of them are in a bubble, for either survival or narcissistic reasons. In this bubble they basically just ignore everything and everyone that isn't immediately feel good. They kick everything that doesn't immediately feel good out of their lives, and they don't do even nearly as much as they could to help others or to heal their old wounds. And possibly they also suppress their own pain or unhealed parts. So it's more than them no longer consuming excessive amounts of intel and news, and no longer meeting toxic people, which by itself is a fine thing to do. It may be the case that this person is in survival mode, and he or she simply needs a bubble to get through life. So making a bubble for yourself is not necessarily the wrong choice to make. It's certainly better than just being depressed. People should put their own air mask on first, after all. On the other hand, some people in a bubble are mostly just interested in having a pleasant life for themselves, and they could do much more to help others, but they choose not to. In this case, their bubble is more like a narcissistic kind of bubble, even if they dress up their lives in spiritual statements such as "my service is that I keep my own vibration high." We'll address that argument later in this message. If the person is in a bubble for narcissistic reasons, then that is in fact separation consciousness, because the person in such a bubble is ignoring all the other people who are suffering. Being in a bubble for narcissistic reasons is a bit like a hand deciding that it wants to keep its vibration high, and therefore it is refusing to extinguish the fire that is currently burning its foot. Because from a unity consciousness perspective, if you are a hand, then that homeless person is like your foot, and it is metaphorically on fire. From a unity consciousness perspective, spending a substantial amount of time on helping others is the only thing that makes sense. Now, if the hand is deeply struggling itself, then the hand is also metaphorically on fire, and it's entirely justified that the hand focuses on putting out its own fire first. In other words, if a person needs a bubble for survival reasons, then that is an entirely valid and possibly necessary choice. Now, let's meet Jack. Jack is in a bubble and he is able to bliss out during meditation. He usually feels happy and loving and connected to the universe. He can quote beautiful sounding spiritual principles. He has some spiritual abilities and can manifest pretty well. He has a nice life. Yet, despite feeling good and having the energy and resources necessary to help others, he is not in fact helping others. Or picture Teacher Tom. Everything we said about Jack applies to Teacher Tom too, except Teacher Tom sells spiritual courses online for thousands of dollars. Teacher Tom really doesn't need to charge so much, he just does, because he can. Teacher Tom also isn't using that money to help others. Instead he's just hoarding it, or spending it to maintain a fancy, expensive lifestyle. Now to be clear, it's absolutely fine if Teacher Tom charges a reasonable sum of money for his services. There's no problem with that. All I'm saying is that if Teacher Tom charges far more than he needs, and then is just hoarding the money, or maintaining an expensive lifestyle, then is Teacher Tom serving others, or is he serving himself? Teacher Tom might present a false binary here, pretending that the only two choices are charging $0 and starving, or charging thousands of dollars. But there is a middle ground there where you charge a reasonable amount of money. Teacher Tom might also argue that it's fine to charge thousands of dollars because people should just manifest that money. Perhaps Teacher Tom points to a free manifestation video he made. But there's an inherent contradiction here. Anyone who can already manifest thousands of dollars at will, perhaps via that free video, may not need Teacher Tom's course. And people who really need help may not be able to just spend thousands of dollars on a spiritual course. At best, Teacher Tom is refusing to help the people who most need his help in favor of people who are already doing pretty well. He's in the desert and he is selling expensive water to those who already have something to drink, and he is ignoring the people who are dying from thirst. Jack, the one in the bubble who wasn't doing anything to help others, and Teacher Tom, the one in the bubble who sells super expensive courses, may very well think they are in unity consciousness. After all, they can bliss out during meditation, they have some spiritual abilities, and they have a great life. They feel good most of the time and aren't bothered by external negativity. Teacher Tom's very expensive courses may even genuinely be helping out some people. But in fact, both Jack and Teacher Tom are in separation consciousness. Why? Because if you're a hand and you're doing well and your foot is on fire, and you're not putting out the fire on your foot, then really you're proving that you don't see that foot, that homeless person, as being part of yourself. Therefore, it's separation consciousness. If you ignore the foot that is on fire, so that you can't sell super expensive courses to your shoulder, when that shoulder is already doing pretty okay, that is still separation consciousness. Because if your actual foot was on fire, if people really were struggling in awful ways, and you saw those people as part of you, then you wouldn't put up such high pay barriers that most people can't benefit from your work. People might at this point argue that the best kind of service they can offer is to keep their own vibrations high. But if your own foot was on fire, would you extinguish the fire, or would you let your foot burn, while trying to keep your vibration high? If you were struggling, would you want someone else to keep their own vibration high, and carefully avoid you, or would you want that person to help you? There are plenty of ways in which you can profoundly help others, and thereby raise their vibration at not too much effort to yourself. So if you think that high vibrations of the people of Earth are important, and they are then helping out others, and thereby substantially raising their vibrations is probably more efficient than you just being in a bubble. Except if you're struggling very much yourself, and you need that bubble as a survival strategy. Someone who is actually in unity consciousness will probably feel that their unity consciousness makes their life harder, because every time they feel reasonably good and rested enough, their unity consciousness will nudge them to take on yet another project to help others. And while it will be very satisfying on one level, it won't always be fun or comfortable. But then again, it also doesn't feel good anymore to the unity-conscious person to just excessively indulge in fun, while their foot is on fire, while other Earth humans are suffering. A person who is genuinely in unity consciousness may wish on some level they weren't in unity consciousness, because it's much nicer to just bliss out and have fun, in a bubble, than it is to help those who need it the most. Now, the exception here is a fully enlightened person. Such a person is in unity consciousness, and they're happy to be in unity consciousness, because they're not suffering or stressed when taking on projects, and doing lots of work, and helping large amounts of people. In fact, they love doing that. So fully enlightened people are probably the only ones who enjoy being in unity consciousness. But unless someone is regularly told by the people around them that their very presence feels amazing, they probably are not fully enlightened. Hence, if anyone claims they are in unity consciousness, and they feel amazing, and they have a great life, well, they're probably in a bubble, which ultimately isn't a super advanced state of being. And they might also be doing the Facebook thing, where they tell you how they feel in their best moments, and they don't tell you about the other half of the time. The irony is that to a spiritual novice, a well-rested and well-off person in a bubble for narcissistic reasons looks more spiritually advanced than a person who is actually in unity consciousness, and who has some amount of stress and fatigue and pain, because they're talking to and empathizing with and working to help others who are suffering. So, to come back to the earlier question, what is your goal with spirituality? What do you want to reach? Do you just want a more pleasant and happier and less painful life? Nothing wrong with that if currently you are struggling. That is quite possibly the best thing to focus on. Or do you want to help others, or be of service? Or do you want spiritual growth? Or do you want some kind of mix of improving your own life, helping others, and spiritual growth? If you want spiritual growth, is that for you a means towards a happier life? Or is spiritual growth a goal in and of itself? If at some point you have to choose between more happiness in the upcoming years and less spiritual growth, or less happiness in the upcoming years and more spiritual growth, then which would you choose? Or is your goal something that I haven't mentioned? There are no right or wrong answers. But it is good to be honest and to be conscious. And I am curious, feel free to share in the comment section if you wish. With all my love. Your star sister, Tourmalayne. The Arcturian group, do not slip into doubt and fear. Welcome, dear readers. As confusion continues to play a large part of life on Earth, at this time, the most important guidance we can give is that you not slip into doubt and fear based on outer appearances. A divine plan is unfolding. One that will not and cannot be stopped, interfered with, or adjusted to suit concepts of how it should look or unfold. What you are witnessing at this time is only the beginning first steps that are necessary for a world in which the majority remains aligned with the past and old energy. The events and actions taking place at this time are catalysts, serving to push increasingly more people into thinking for themselves, taking a hard look at what they have always accepted without question, and pushing them toward personal empowerment, which for most has lain dormant in submission to others. Throughout lifetimes, humans have been told what was best for them, what was right and wrong, and the dire consequences of ignoring it. The majority believe then, and continue to believe now, that they are not capable of figuring these things out for themselves. Over time, this belief has become firmly established in Earth's collective consciousness, and today many always look to religious leaders, politicians, and experts of every field to tell them what to do, how to live, and what is right and wrong. Know that the activities of change that are taking place at this time are temporary, and represent only the first steps of much that is to come. You cannot fathom all that is coming, because you have no reference point. Let go of any three-dimensional concepts you may hold about the ascension process, and understand that present times are serving to push the unawakened majority into thinking for themselves, and question the old game of follow the leader. Those attempting change from old energy based in the way things have always been done will not be the ones implementing the real changes that are coming, simply because states of consciousness that function from a three-dimensional level will not and cannot align with the higher frequencies coming to the ascending Earth. Your job as spiritually evolved individuals is to trust, actually really trust, that a divine plan is unfolding, and bringing with it much more than present appearances would have you believe. Allow the process, for it must be a process. Rather than focusing on the plethora of information being pushed at you from every direction, silently and secretly rest always in one power, presence, and reality, and know that by doing this you are adding light to the collective, which is what you came to do. Earth is an idea in divine mind, a God creation just as spiritual and perfect as every expression of divine consciousness. The earth of God's creating is not subject to beliefs of duality, separation, and two powers, but the earth of man's creating is resulting in its having been misused, abused, and almost destroyed by human egos functioning from a consciousness of ignorance and separation. You are the earth, you are every animal, you are the trees, flowers, grasses, water, air, and earth, and thus what is done to these spiritual expressions is done to all, for there is only one. Spiritual evolution eventually brings every person to a point at which they must begin to live the truth they know, recognizing self and all others as being God individualized. Those who are spiritually evolved but choose to continue living fully from duality, separation, and two powers simply because it is familiar and allows them to fit in will often at some point get a wake-up call, which is usually some unpleasant event or experience meant to bring the person back to center. Some of you may be guided to become involved in outer activities, bringing light to places of turmoil, while others of you will be guided simply to stay quiet and hold light for the world as you go about your day. Trust your intuition and not the opinions of others as to which is right for you. Whatever the circumstances you may find yourself in at this time, never forget that you are a divine being in Earth's lower resonance at this time, to learn, clear old energy, spiritually expand, and shift to a higher state of consciousness, while at the same time helping Earth and others to do the same. The Earth is not, and never has been, an illusion, rather it is mankind's concepts about the Earth that constitute illusion. The absolute truth about you and everyone else is that you are God/divine consciousness individualized. Long ago the Master Teacher Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," but most at that time, and even now, thought this meant only Jesus was one with God. He, as well as many other evolved spiritual teachers, have for a very long time been trying to tell humans that I is the name of God, the soul, and true identity of every person. You are living in powerful times for Earth, and all upon her, have been on her, and those to come. These times have been predicted, written about, and awaited for thousands of years, and are finally here. It has begun. Trust and allow the process. We are the Arcturian group. Piscean season and Polarity Unifiers. Beloved ones, as we move into Piscean season, many of you will feel the pulse of moving inward, working with inner alchemy, to achieve unity within yourselves. This is a time when many of you are going to be awakening or expanding into your mission as Earth Unifiers, whose main mission, as I have seen recently in some of you, is to reconcile opposites in the Earth structures that are still damaged with false programming, to create more separation, and at a collective level. Pisces teaches us how to achieve ascension by precisely merging opposites. It is with this water sign that we finally clear karmic ties, embody our lessons, and terminate the zodiac wheel, by knowing who we are, our purpose, and how to step into a new harmonic sphere of creation. When we are reticent to leave behind the past and move forward, our physical body shows us the resistance in our feet, knees, and lymphatic system, all ruled by Pisces. If no medical condition, look within to see if you are moving into a new cycle and your ego is not letting go of the old, as when it occurs we feel pain in our joints and lymphatic system, which does not drain properly our fluids, for we are not wanting to let go, creating more blockages into its network and pressure into the parts of our body that want to move forward. Those of you who have already activated both of your polarities, removing the old and stepping into a new phase, will be activated by your unified self as divine unifiers. This involves dedication to balancing and neutralizing the ego, and seeing the truth and unity in all beings and living forms. As divine unifiers and hence polarity reconcilers, your mission involves remaining always in a compassionate neutral state of being, for judgments obstruct your purpose of anchoring more love and integration. This is a time for us to resurrect our divine template, often imbalanced as part of our polarized nature in this plane of existence. A time for us to remember the power of unity to shift what we cannot individually, for this transitional year is key for us to leave behind separation at a personal and collective level and move into a more trinitized space. This is a year when many of you will finally achieve healing. correction, and activation in your polarity's shoulder blade portals and in all their corresponding body channels. You will realize the divine perfection in yourself so you can also see it in others, creating more balanced relationships, and releasing the ones that only foment separation through toxicity and egoic patterns. Strength, devotion to serve, and focus on what is truly important, and that is only love, is vital at this time for us to contribute to our planetary ascension. Our trajectory is determined by our personal choices, to remain in our hearts, or to keep feeding false narratives. All choice serve creation, for all is equally respected. May you live with your eyes, mind, and soul wide open to see the truth. May you choose wisely what forces you wish to serve, beloveds. With an infinite love. Natalia, Alba. Mary Magdalene, Tides of Transformation. Beloved ones, have you noticed how profoundly you feel everything lately? The tides of transformation are upon your world, and you, too, are shifting, becoming ever more attuned, ever more sensitive to the unseen currents of existence. Now, more than ever, it is essential to turn inward, to listen to the whispers of your own divine essence, while navigating this unfolding evolution. The Earth's vibration is rising, and with it, you are returning to your true, luminous self-awakening. From the illusion of separation, the veil grows thinner, revealing what was always known in the depth of your being. Your thoughts ripple through the ethers, your emotions dance within the waters of creation, and your heart's energy is felt by all. Telepathy is no longer a distant possibility, but a remembrance of what has always been. In this great unveiling, you recall a truth so simple, yet so profound. You and the other were never apart. Consciousness knows no boundaries. What you give, you receive. What you harm within yourself. This is why your sensitivity increases. It is not a burden, but a sacred gift. Honor it. Let it guide you back to the holiness of your own heart. You are awakening once more to the realms of spirit. The unseen world, once distant, now stands before you, more tangible than ever. You begin to perceive the vastness beyond the physical senses, to recognize that what is real is not what the eyes see, but what the soul knows. So why exhaust your energy chasing the fleeting? Why define reality by the limitations of human action alone? Why not pause and listen until your perception expands to embrace the multidimensional? Why consume so much? Why stay endlessly occupied? Why drown the subtle in noise? Do you not remember that the gates of heaven open in silence? That peace is the key to perceiving the divine. You have given power to the unreal for too long, mistaking illusion for truth. Now, it is time to return home. Remember, everything is energy. And in stillness, new realities will unveil themselves. Be quiet, and worlds unseen will rise before you. Eat lightly, and let yourself be nourished by light. Do less, yet feel more. Speak little, yet listen deeply. The moment has come to remember who you are. Know that we walk beside you, ever near, never apart. And as you step into the light, perhaps, just perhaps, you will meet one of us at the corner of your path. Will you pause for a moment and offer a smile? The creators, your subconscious mind and dormant DNA. We are the creators. We are a 12th dimensional collective of non-physical beings, and we are here to help. You are making great progress there on Earth, as you access more of your dormant DNA, more of your subconscious minds, more of your historical records of life on Earth. As you discover more of who you have been physically, and who you are physically, that then helps you to expand your consciousness, and your knowing of who you have been, and who you are spiritually, as a soul, as a consciousness, as an oversoul. You do tend to need to see physical evidence first. You do tend to want to experience something in the physical realm, before you are open to experiencing it, as a being of consciousness, and that is, because you have been physically oriented for so long. And however you get there, you get there. It doesn't really matter, but we just wanted to point that out to you. You've accessed a lot of information now that has helped you to expand your sense of self out in all directions, and all times, and now it is the time for you to expand your sense of self non-physically. It is time for you to awaken to the truth that you are an aspect of Source, and therefore, you are so much more than your other selves in physical form. You are so much more than just being a part of an ET lineage, and your history there on planet Earth pales in comparison to your histories as souls who exist even beyond this universe. You are more than this universe is, and that can be hard to swallow for the average human, who doesn't have any physical evidence to prove that. But continue to open your eyes, and open your minds, so that you will eventually open your hearts, and feel for the truth of who you really are, so you can know experientially that you are an aspect of Source, and, therefore, are infinite and eternal unconditional love. Now that you know more, you can feel for more, and when you feel for more, you will also be able to experience more, because of the vibration you will be tapping into as you expand your feelings out to tell you more viscerally who and what you really are, as a being, as a collective consciousness, that is so much more than all of your physical lives put together. Keep educating yourselves, because that is the path that you've chosen, but know that there is so much more available to you than what you can know with your physical human mind. And get curious about what you can feel when you go into the infinite chamber of the center of your heart. We are the creators, and we love you very much. SourceArrayOfLight.com. The other videos are in the English video playlist. Help me spread the light, click like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.